Hello and welcome to Talking Bengals, episode 7. I'm your host, Casey Sprague, joined by my faithful co host, Nick Houlihan. We'll be flying solo tonight. We don't have any special guests joining us, so we're back to the classic, the original. So it should be good times. You can always check out Talking Bengals on iTunes, Google Play, and Podopedia. So, Nick, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, Casey. How about yourself?
Well, can't complain too much. We got some fun topics to get into tonight. Some of the off-season excitement, I guess you'd say, meaning there's not really a whole lot of excitement. But one topic that came up in the news this week, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Shane Graham announcing his retirement. This week, it came out that he wants to retire as a Bengal. So, Nick, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely love it. I can't praise Shane Graham for being a classy kind of player any more than what I've already done. I mean, he's kind of player that you want to retire as a player from your franchise, and just a great guy. He exudes class, and I mean, he's a great example for other players as well, to show that the Bengals, it's a good franchise. And you know from the later topics we'll talk about, we'll also see how the Brown family is very faithful for their for the employees to the franchise, players, coaches, pretty much any of the staff that's they're willing to work hard. you know Brown's family, they're in it for family, but also at the same time, we'll get into another topic where I think it's a great idea. Think they need to talk about other options. Casey.
I mean, Shane Graham had some magical years and some great kicks for the Bengals. So, I mean, I feel like it's definitely good for him to go out as a Bengal. It's also good for the team and the city of Cincinnati. I mean, it's nice for the fans and the team to get that kind of credit. The guy had his best years there. He liked the community. He liked the group that he was with. So it just means a lot that he actually wants to retire as a Bengal. And I mean, Shane Graham was always a classy guy, always did things the right way. I mean, it's always sad when you see somebody like that leave. I mean, he was one of the last people to get franchised. I think he got franchise tagged 2 years in a row. So that's quite an accomplishment. And, just hats off to Shane Graham. And I hope he enjoys his retirement. And maybe he'll come back and do some other things with the Bengals. So, Nick, I'm actually going to let you play us into this next topic because you found the story. So it's all yours.
I found that Stanley Wilson Jr., the son of Mr. Stanley Wilson Sr., which is another topic for later, was arrested for the second time, breaking into a person's house in the nude in his birthday suit. I thought that it was kind of an interesting topic, because I've seen a couple sides of things where they say where some people are trying to say that the game of football and head injuries and things like that have some form of a play in how he reacts as a person, off the field. I personally, I believe that is a bunch of bull, and I think that not only Stanley Wilson Jr. but Senior as well. I think they have a lot of family history. I would probably say that there's family history of mental illness there, because you see substance abuse on both sides. Typically, they run together. But Stanley Wilson Jr. arrested for 2 times, and I think it was less than a year, nude, breaking into someone's house. I mean, the first time he was nude breaking into someone's house, he got shot. I mean, it looks really bad for the family. Kind of feel bad for everybody else that's involved. But I mean, 2 times in less than a year. The first time he pretty much got slapped on the wrist. I think is mostly because he was high on meth. So, and I think they said the arresting officer said that he appeared to be under the influence of narcotics at the time as well. So I mean, substance abuse and mental illness go hand to hand. I don't think that football plays a hand in mental illness. I think a lot of that is genetic, and a lot of predispositions to that, and also things that you see in your personal life and how you experience life plays a lot into the mental illness part. But Stanley Wilson Jr. getting arrested again. He's following his dad's footsteps, and it's not looking good for him. I hope he finds the help that he does so desperately needs. And oh, God forbid anything else happen to the man. Casey.
Well, to quote a Third Eye Blind there, doing crystal meth will lift you up until you break. So, I mean, apparently it's kind of like, a Rick James quote there that goes great for his dad. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. But I digress, and maybe I shouldn't be poking too much comedy at serious issues like this. But, Stanley Wilson Jr. is a former Detroit Lion, was the team he played for. And it's just sad to see people with such talent just throw it away. I mean, we all know what his dad did. And like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But I don't know what else would possess you except for some kind of substance abuse to break into somebody's house naked. Just wow. There's actually a little radio thing they do down here in Alabama, and it's called Stories of a Florida Man. And that definitely sounds like one of those because it's always something ridiculous, breaking into a store naked or, throwing a possum at a police officer, just ridiculous things. I think I might actually have to send this one in, even though he's not in Florida. It's ridiculous. And it's just sad, though, to see people throw away their great careers. They could have had an opportunity. I mean, he was only a Detroit Lion for a few years, but, that's more than me or you or the majority of the world. So to get there and not make it count or, make something of yourself on the backside, it's just sad. And, the fact that it's now a family issue, I mean, you got two generations. The name is cursed. I really hope there's not a Stanley Wilson III, because if so, then there may be some more issues coming in the future. But they got to clean it up. And I really hope that for their family's sake, both of them are doing better now and that they can figure this out. But we're going to move into a little bit more of an actual football topic now with the looking forward to the draft. And Nick, you know how much I hate mock drafts. I absolutely despise them. So we are not doing a mock draft. We're not announcing mock draft picks either. But what we're going to get into now is what is the worst position that the Bengals could draft overall at number 9. And I've heard all kinds of rumors, everything from running backs to quarterbacks to linebackers. Nick, what do you think?
You're saying just the worst position you're saying the position they should just not draft, period, correct?
Not draft in the first round. Yep.
All right. And not draft in the first round. I think that defensive line, I think it'd be a terrible pick for defensive line in the first round. You already got Geno, you already got Dunlap, you already got Pecco to lead. I mean, you keep those senior guys with Dunlap and with Pecco, and you try to bring in a free agent of some sort. I don't think you need to draft out of college for a defensive lineman. Defensive line is a very tough position, especially when you're playing against, late 20s, early 30s, offensive linemen who've been there. They've done that. They know the moves. They've seen the moves. And about the only thing you can do is just use quickness against them. But a lot of the times those guys are also really strong. So you're looking at a very tough position to draft, and you don't know what you're getting out of defensive linemen in the draft, in my opinion. So I think that defensive line would be a terrible, absolutely awful first round. Casey?
Well, no, you talking about defensive line got me thinking of a topic, so we're going to actually kind of go back and forth on something here. So you talked about defensive line, so I'm going to hit defensive line, then I'll name position, and we'll both critique what we think about it. So defensive line, I think actually getting a defensive end would be a great decision. Defensive tackle, not so much, but a defensive end, I mean, you got a really aging Michael Johnson. Carlos Dunlap still had a good year last year, but he's also starting to get a little bit more up there in years. And defensive ends, I mean, that is a guy you can usually plug right in straight out of college, and they can play. So I disagree. I think a defensive lineman, specifically a defensive end, would be a great move at number 9. I don't really see any problem with doing that. The issue that I have is a trend I've been seeing lately a lot, and is people talking about, well, let's draft a running back. Let's get Fournette out of LSU, or let's get this guy from here or there. We need a running back at number 9. And I'm not a Jeremy Hill fan. I don't think he's going to have a great year again. I think if they get Rex Burkhead back, that could help. I don't know if Gio's going to be ready. But taking a running back as number 9 overall, to me, is just stupid. Nick, what do you think?
I mean, I would agree with you with the running back position. I think that if you're going to draft a running back, you want to go, maybe second or third round, at the highest. You don't really want to use those picks on In my opinion, you don't want to use those picks even, for a running back. You want to find a skilled position, somebody that you really need, a position that you really need to fill, and somebody that you think that you can develop. To bring in defensive end, I was leaving out defensive end. I was thinking more of like a 1-to-5 technique. I see a defensive end as more like straight up on the tackle or outside the tackle. I mean, you can play a defense with 4 linebackers and 3 down, and you can actually use one of your linebackers as that position as well to rush as a passer as as the defensive end. But you're looking at it in an area where defensive end with Dunlap, he's getting older, and I think you said Michael Johnson. Yeah, he's definitely getting older. But I think that if you use your number 1 draft pick wisely, I don't think that it's going to be done wisely at the defensive line across the board. I think we need to get more defensive backs. I think we need to draft high in the defensive backs. But
Well, I mean, defensive backs, though, how many defensive backs can we draft high? I mean, you'll see William Jackson III's been our most recent, Darquez Denard, Drake Kirkpatrick. Could keep going back. Leon Hall, Jonathan Joseph. Just keep going back and going back and going back. We've not gotten great return on our investment for these guys in the defensive backfield. So I don't know. What do you think we should draft, Nick?
I mean, with the Bengals, I mean, you kind of need someone at every position. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but our backup quarterback going to the Browns or going to another team. Hope to God he doesn't actually go to the Browns. But I mean, to have a backup quarterback, someone to develop under Andy Dalton. So that way, when Andy Dalton does retire or he does leave on, because his contract is up, or we trade him to get something else that we need, I think that backup quarterback. I muted myself on accident.
Wow.
Shut up. To get that backup quarterback position, I think that is a good spot. Look at Tom Brady. You look at, Aaron Rodgers. You have 2 great quarterbacks now that, were brought up under other great quarterbacks, other good quarterbacks that could teach them. And I think that if you want to have a chance, at maintaining a good quarterback, you got to bring someone in under Andy Dalton and let Andy Dalton, be the leader that he needs to be and teach the incoming quarterback what he needs to teach him.
Well, I mean, especially if McCarron walks, I can see the validity to that argument, but I wouldn't say in the first round, maybe in the 4th or 5th round again, like they did with McCarron. Just try to find a good steal. They got 11 draft picks right now, so I think they got plenty of picks. They could take a risk on a quarterback at some point in the draft, but in the first round, no. So first round picks, I don't even know. I like defensive end or linebacker, honestly, would be the 2 biggest positions I would take in the top 10. So get that number 9 pick for one of those, or maybe possibly even another wide receiver.
It's a good argument for the wide receiver area. For that other topic that we're going to be talking about later, I think it'd be a great thing to have more wide receivers, and if we can find another top-notch receiver like Green, I think that benefits the team. Casey, what's the next topic we got going on here? Let's move on.
Oh, so tired of the draft. I know I hate the draft until it actually happens.
Yeah, I can't stand these mock draft crap.
So moving into our favorite topic, we're going to keep it strong with roasted or boasted. And like we were hinting at earlier, we're going to go back to the Stanley Wilson conversation. And the question is, roasted or boasted? If Stanley Wilson played, the Bengals would have won Super Bowl 23.
I'm just going to go ahead and say boasted, because looking at statistics and knowing how solid it is to have an extra running back to fill in when you have your 1 and 2 running backs that are completely, you know, just worn out. I mean, he was somebody that could fill in for anyone. And I was reading on Cincy Jungle an article that an AJ guy was talking about. Um, it was talking about one of Stanley's really good standout performances. That was in the let me find it here. That was against the Seahawks in the wild card round, where he rushed for 45 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's huge. I mean, even if he doesn't get that many yards, to make it to the end zone, to push himself over the end zone. I mean, especially in that era in the late 80s, you still had hard-nosed football. I'm going to smash you in the mouth and I'm going to hit you hard. Where today you have, a little bit iffy rules. But I say boast it, Casey.
I'm definitely going to boast it as well. I mean, if you looked at the 88 Bengals team, they really relied on the 3 running back type look. James Brooks was a great all-around back. Ickey Woods was a phenomenal rookie who could power up the middle, had some good breakaway speed at times. But, it's that third guy in the slot that just adds that extra dimension. I think that's what I talked about. The modern Bengals need to – that's why they should have used Rex Burkhead more, and if they keep him, they need to use him more. You got to do running back by committee. The most successful teams do running back by committee. You have 3 guys at least that are playmakers, can make things happen for you, add that extra level. And in the Super Bowl, you need every playmaker you can get. Like you talked about him in the wild card game, whoever gets hot, and that's the guy you need on the field. And Brooks didn't get very hot. Ickey Woods didn't get very hot. Maybe Stanley Wilson could have been that guy. And like I said, it's just sad that not only he suffered because, they lost the game and he was banned from the NFL, but, the team lost, the city lost, the fans lost. Everybody who was involved in that, they all lost. And, it could have been avoided. Now, may they still have lost? Possibly. But, I really do feel like if he would have shown up, done what he was supposed to do, and played his game, he could have added that extra dimension. The Bengals could have won the game. So I'm definitely going to boast that one. So continuing on with dramatic topics here in Roasted or Boasted, 2017 is the last opportunity for the Dalton Green era. Nick, roasted or boasted?
I want to roast it. I hope to God that Dalton and Green stay. I hope that the Brown family builds a team around Dalton and Green, and I hope they bring in another running back if they don't keep Burkhead, because I love Burkhead as well. But if they don't keep Burkhead, they need to bring another running back in to offset the passing game. So that way, when you do have Jeremy Hill or the second running back in, they're both a major running threat. So that way, when you do a play action fake to the running back, the other team believes it. Other than a third and 4, and 5-6 minutes left in the game, you're down a touchdown, and you fake the ball to Gio. That's not going to happen. You're not going to run the ball to Gio for on 3rd and 4. That's a pass play when you got Gio in at that point, and every team knows that. And it's gotten to the point where it needs to change, and I think they need to build around Dalton and Green. And I hope that's why I'm roasting it. I hope that Dalton and Green stay.
Well, due to their contracts, I don't think Dalton and Green are going anywhere for a while. But to play devil's advocate here, I'm going to actually boast it. This is the last real opportunity that this core group of players, not just Andy Dalton and AJ Green, but the core players they have and the coaching staff have to be successful. I feel like if they come out of another year like this year, Marvin Lewis has to be gone. He's got to be gone, and if they keep him around, they're going to go back into a rebuilding process, and that's something that Andy Dalton and AJ Green have not had to deal with. Remember, they showed up and started winning right out of the bat, and yeah, they were slowly progressing, 9-7, 10-6, and slowly getting better and better, but they've never had to go through a long rebuild. They've never had to be bad for a few years. After 05, you had with Carson Palmer, you went from 05 to 2010, didn't make the playoffs. had 8-8 years, had a couple other even worse years than that. And the team had to build. You were losing players, you were gaining players, losing players, gaining players. And that happens every year. But those core players, the team that was really successful in 2015, could have possibly gone all the way if Andy Dalton stayed healthy. You're losing a lot of those guys. You already lost Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu, Reggie Nelson, and other key contributors to that team. And if they just continue to let more and more and more of them fall away, what team are you really going to have? And A.J. Green and Andy Dalton, not that they're old, they still got some time left in their career, but it only takes one injury in the NFL. It only takes one really bad setback to just end it all, and that's it. And, you lose either one of those players right now, and I don't think the other one is nearly as successful or can carry the team or can actually lead this team without – they're symbiotic with each other. Without one, the other's not nearly as good. And, I mean, A.J. Green, you can plug in another quarterback for him, I guess, but you're not gonna have a top-notch guy within a year of Andy Dalton going down. That's just not going to happen. That's not the way the Bengals play. They're not going to go out and sign a huge free agent. They'll draft somebody, try to develop them. And as you saw with Andy Dalton, even to get him at the level he's at now, took 4 to 5 years. It doesn't just happen overnight for a quarterback. A receiver can come in and be superstar right now, but a quarterback, it takes a while. So I think this year is crucial for them because otherwise they're going to have to deal with a new coaching staff after this season. Nick, you got a rebuttal to that?
I mean, I hope that this year is not a rebuilding year, mostly because I just want them to win it. I mean, win at least a playoff game this year. I mean, for God's sakes, we've been waiting for how long now? But I would say the reason why I roasted is because last opportunity. I just don't see it as the last opportunity. I feel as though the Bengals are going to be able to bring in better players. I mean, they're getting positive press with Shane Graham. And you're seeing all these guys coming out of college. They're seeing all these big name players coming from Bama, LSU, these big name schools. But you also have these really good football players that are playing in these not so big name schools that they need somewhere to go as well. And I think you can get them free agency and they may turn out better. May in fact actually turn out better than a lot of the big name school big players. Just mostly because, someone didn't get enough playing time in high school to go to a bigger college, or someone didn't develop until they got into college and they played JUCO, developed in JUCO ball. That's junior college for anybody who doesn't know. And they develop in junior college ball, and then they go to, a bigger name school where they could transfer and not have to wait a year out. And that way they clear the NCAA clearinghouse and they make a big name for themselves at a smaller Division I school. But, even some of the bigger name players now, they didn't even go to a huge football school. Look at most of the big name players, people from Alabama. I don't know. What's the other one in Alabama? I can't think of it. Auburn. And yeah, I mean, Florida. Look at all these big name these big name schools that send these guys into the NFL. They're not bringing in the kind of attention they need to bring in, especially with playing time and being able to bring in a fan base. USC, for example, they send a lot of players to the NFL, but not a lot of them are successful. I mean, thank God for the team that I root for with Tennessee, with Peyton Manning. I mean, another arguable one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, and that Tennessee is not a huge football school. I mean, they're more of a football school than anything else, but you see where I'm going there.
Yeah, so you're going. May need to get you an oxygen tank so much you were talking. Good Lord, I think you have sucked all the air out of that room. I need to check on the family, make sure they're okay.
Got it.
All right, so been kind of serious tonight with a lot of, not fun topics to talk about. So we'll lighten it up a little bit with our last roasted or boasted topic. And that is, what is the best song at the Bengals Stadium? Is it Bang on the drum all day. Welcome to the jungle or jungle boogie.
Well, I know you like the Jungle Boogie, but I like the touchdown dance when they score. Um, it's the best one. So I guess all the options you gave me is a roasted for all of them.
Well, Bang on the Drum is the song they play when they score a touchdown. That's the song I think you're thinking of. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know the name of it. I
Yeah,
guess.
Bang on the Drum all day is the touchdown song, which is actually the one I was going to pick. But since you threw Jungle Boogie out there, of course I love the Jungle Boogie. That's what we always dance to after the touchdown. So it's good times. I mean, they're all good songs. So I'm going to have to definitely boast them all. Nothing better than getting hyped up and listening to Welcome to the Jungle right before the kickoff. Then you get your instant celebration with Bang on the Drum all day. And then you get to actually boogie down a little bit with the Jungle Boogie. And in the section that we used to sit in all the time, you got Tarzan and the Natty Kid there in the front row and just jump up and do the Jungle Boogie with them. So I always enjoyed it, and I think you have good memories of all three of those as well. But that brings us into our final thoughts for the evening. Nick, I'll let you lead off.
My final thoughts is that as the draft comes more nearer, the Bengals need to start looking as a team, and they need to start looking at who they can bring in to be a part of that team, be a family as a team, to be out there on the field and work as a unit. And they need to start working on spring training coming up and summer practices, be able to get all their guys together and actually come together and be a unit. So that way they're not playing all as players, just as a team. That's all I got.
Well, I like the one topic we talked about in Roasted or Boasted tonight. It's 2017, the last real opportunity for the Dalton Green era. Honestly, I don't think it is, but it's good to play with that kind of urgency. You need to play with, like you're talking about, get together as a team. You got to make this year count. Last year felt like, it didn't count. Halfway through the season, they'd either counted themselves out or something, and everybody just stopped caring. You've got to play this game with a sense of urgency. Every game could be your last. Every season could be your last. I mean, you can't go in scared, but at the same point, you got to play like it's your last game. You got to play tough. You got to be hard. You got to be competitive. So the Bengals just need to play with a sense of urgency and do their jobs, as was their motto a few years ago. With that said, that's going to be all we have for tonight. Please check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Podopedia. We also have our own YouTube page, Talkin Bengals. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And everybody have a great week, and hoo-day.